A bare-bones Terran research outpost perched on the frozen rim of Xenos 5 was never meant to be a battlefield. It was a modest cluster of prefabricated modules, thin walls, low ceilings, and far from any real military might. Scientists were there to study local flora that could potentially revolutionize antiviral treatments for humans and non-humans alike. Among these devoted men and women lived the Caldwell family, Dr. Beatrice Caldwell, the outpost's lead botanist, her husband Jonas, and their two children, Aiden and Kara. Life on Xenos 5 was arduous but oddly peaceful. Kara Caldwell, just 10 years old, found ways to infuse warmth into the freezing environment. She had a habit of painting bright, childlike murals on every interior wall. Her latest masterpiece depicted a swirling galaxy dotted with smiley faces, under which she wrote, in shaky hand, "We're never alone." That innocent optimism was shattered the day the killer Imperium launched a surprise raid. The Imperium was rumored to have staked a claim on Xenos 5's unique flora, suspecting it would be a lucrative addition to its already vast economic empire. Terrans, they believed, had no right to strip mine their planet, even if the only thing Earth's scientists really mined was knowledge. When the killer dropships landed, the outpost's sparse security detail was caught off guard. Within minutes, the Imperium's black armored troopers rounded up every human they could find, corralling them into the main research lab. There, under the flickering fluorescent lights, the killer commander, Valeth Rain, made a chilling announcement. "Any resistance," he growled, voice crackling through his helmet, "and you forfeit your pathetic existence." Kara, clutching Aiden's hand, stepped forward in what she thought might be diplomacy. She had never known real violence, only the stories Aiden told her about Earth's past wars, stories that always ended with humans emerging from unspeakable odds. "We don't want to fight you," she said, voice trembling. "My mom always says we can share what if." A barked order cut her off. The commander's second-in-command seized her by the arm and dragged her to the front. Valeth Rain, seeking to exhibit dominance, decided that fear was the best tool. The killer Imperium had never tolerated peaceful negotiation when intimidation was faster. Before the stunned outpost personnel could react, Rain lifted a sidearm, pressed it to Kara's temple, and pulled the trigger. A single searing flash. A hush so deep it felt like the entire galaxy had been muted. Then, a silent scream strangled in the throats of everyone present. Aiden's world collapsed. He was only 15, barely old enough to grasp cosmic politics, but he knew what cruelty looked like. He stood frozen, the clang of his heartbeat the only noise in his ears. Beside him, Jonas Caldwell crumpled to his knees, while Dr. Beatrice Caldwell fought against the guards until she was knocked unconscious. The killer troopers, having asserted their dominance, dragged away a few of the scientists for interrogation. The rest were shoved back into containment cells. Terrified, outnumbered, and weaponless, they could do nothing but watch their beloved child's body lie cold on the lab floor. Valeth Rain declared the research facility and all findings property of the Imperium, claiming, "Earth has proven it can't even protect a child, let alone a planet." In the days that followed, the Imperium attempted a cover-up. They jammed transmissions, blocked any distress signals, and threatened the Terran survivors with gruesome fates if they so much as whispered about the atrocity. In their cold logic, the murder of one small human was inconsequential. The Imperium had used fear to seize entire worlds before. One more violent act would scarcely register in the grand tapestry of Imperial history. Yet under this heavy cloak of secrecy and brutality, something stirred. Aiden Caldwell, traumatized and broken, began to experience strange pulses in his mind. They started as nightmares he couldn't shake off, visions of Kara's final moments repeating over and over. Each time, the psychic echo grew stronger, forging a mental broadcast that would soon spread far beyond Xenos 5. No one in the killer Imperium suspected that a teenage boy, reeling from loss, could be the spark that ignited humanity's cosmic fury. In a cold detention cell, Aiden Caldwell closed his eyes, tears soaking his tattered jacket. A subtle hum resonated in his skull, a force beyond reason, fueled by grief and anger. The Imperium might have killed Kara Caldwell in secrecy, but the horrifying truth was on the cusp of erupting into every human mind across the galaxy. All across human space, from the bustling orbital cities of Earth to the distant colonies on Mars, Ganymede, and beyond, people awoke with the same heart-stopping vision. It came as a dream for some, a splitting migraine for others, or a passing flash during breakfast for the hungover. For more than one smuggler nursing a cosmic-size hangover, it felt like the universe itself was playing a sick joke. But this was no cosmic gag. It was Kara Caldwell's final moments, seared into the collective consciousness of humankind. In the midst of this psychic whirlwind, telepaths scattered throughout the Earth Federation began to convulse, chanting half-coherent pleas, Kara's pleas. A few even shared them on public networks, calling it the sleep of screams. People who had never believed in psychic phenomena found themselves wide-eyed, tears streaming, as they felt a child's final terror. Aiden Caldwell's gift, awakened by unthinkable trauma, transcended the Imperium's jamming fields. Like an unstoppable cosmic radio wave, it carried the memory of Kara's execution across light years. Humanity's reaction was a raw, unified outcry of pain and fury. No matter their politics, no matter whether they were a refined diplomat on Earth or a half-drunken mercenary on the frontier, people felt the same hot rage burn in their guts. While Earth's media scrambled for an explanation, President Lucia King took immediate action. She was not a woman of half measures, once rumored to have told a nosy reporter, "If you want the truth, I'll give it to you in an airlock at 3 a.m. She had little patience for red tape. The moment her staff confirmed the psychic transmission's authenticity, she had her cabinet in an emergency session. "The killer Imperium has gone too far," she declared, voice trembling with barely contained anger. "This is an atrocity. And we will answer with every ounce of our strength." Behind closed doors, she faced immediate questions. The Earth Federation's military might was formidable, but the Imperium had centuries of conquest under its belt. Could humanity possibly win a war against such a power? Did they have any real allies willing to stand at their side? President King's answer was absolute. She convened the Grand Assembly of Allied Worlds, a loose coalition of smaller systems that had previously benefited from Earth's technology and trade. During a heated session broadcast across star systems, President King displayed the evidence, telepathic recordings, eyewitness statements smuggled from Xenos 5, and interviews with Terran survivors who'd managed to hide from Imperium troopers. In a speech that would go viral within hours, she challenged the entire galaxy. "To those who think this is merely one dead child, how many more will it take before you act? The Imperium's brutality will not stop with Earth. Stand with us, or become the next victim. You don't want to see us pissed off." The galaxy took notice. Several species, once too frightened to confront killer aggression, stepped forward with cautious support. They provided intelligence, star charts of weak points in Imperium defenses, and even volunteer fighters. Humanity's telepaths, newly aware of their potential, quickly formed what they called the Telepathic Network, a scattered group exchanging strategic insights gleaned through psychic pulses. It wasn't all sunshine and cosmic glory, however. Some backwater colonies on the fringes scoffed. "We can't afford a war," they argued. "And since when did we trust mind-bending teenagers to guide our battles?" A few corporate-run worlds, as always, tried to stay neutral, hoping to profit from arms deals. President King wasted no time in reminding them that neutrality would not save them if the Imperium decided they were expendable. She may or may not have threatened to publicly release certain incriminating financial ledgers, but no one dared contradict her. Soon, the mass fury of humankind coalesced. News channels on every station adopted the same harrowing tagline: "They murdered a child. We respond in force." The moral clarity was as stark as it was terrifying. This wasn't just about territory or trade routes. It was about the violation of something sacred, protecting the future generation. In dark corners of the Imperium, certain killer officials scrambled to hush rumors. They ridiculed Earth's psychic hysteria, calling it an elaborate propaganda stunt. But deep within Imperator Zelvar's palace, an uncomfortable realization took hold. He had inadvertently united the fractious human race into a single unstoppable monolith. And if history taught one universal truth, it was that you do not push humanity past the brink unless you're prepared for a cosmic-scale vengeance, complete with snark and ballistic missiles. Under the banner of Earth's newly declared war effort, Admiral Tenemar Storr took center stage. A legend in the Federation Navy, Storr had once negotiated a life-saving medical treaty with the Killier Imperium, one that cured his ailing daughter with advanced Killier biotech. That personal debt now made him the unlikeliest general to lead a total war. Yet duty trumped personal conflict. Storr's tactical genius and moral compass were precisely what President King needed at the helm. As Earth's armadas mobilized, the Imperium was initially dismissive. Killier intelligence had labeled humans stubborn but technologically behind. That label proved hilariously inaccurate the moment Earth's fleets dropped out of FTL near Fort Arazeth, a major Killier supply hub. Within minutes, drones jammed Imperium comms, while Terran shock troopers tore through the orbital defense ring. The Killier garrison commander, flustered, famously cried out, "These humans fight like cornered devils," before surrendering. Victory after victory stunned the galaxy. Humanity's collective fury drove them to new extremes. Soldiers joked darkly about a new motto: "We don't just get even, we get 10 times." Meanwhile, smuggler crews who once rolled their eyes at Earth's goody-two-shoes diplomacy found themselves cheering as entire Imperium strongholds fell. Some even joined the fight, enticed by bounties or simply the thrill of seeing the Killier kneel. But the war was no bloodless affair. Reports emerged of entire Killier outposts obliterated in Earth's relentless push. Civilian casualties mounted on both sides. On New Hiroshima, an ironically named human colony, Killier saboteurs bombed a refugee center, killing hundreds. The human retaliation was swift. A Terran strike fleet, rumored to be commanded by a particularly vengeful officer, laid waste to 3 Killier industrial worlds. Dark jokes circulated among the Terran ranks, like, "I guess the Imperium needs a new place to keep their spare underwear." The brutality made even Admiral Storr grimace. Yet, amid the savage retribution, Aiden Caldwell lingered like a ghostly figure. Freed from the outpost by a covert rescue team, he spent his days in a secure station orbiting Earth. Doctors tried to treat him for psychological trauma, but they also recognized the monumental significance of his telepathic abilities. Attended by Earth's top psionic researchers, Aiden struggled to balance the trauma of Kara's death with the knowledge that the entire war hinged on the haunting images he had unleashed. In a quiet therapy session, he confessed to feeling guilty. "I started this," he whispered, voice shaky. "All this death, just because I couldn't keep my emotions locked up." One researcher patted him on the shoulder, offering a gentle reassurance. But behind sympathetic eyes, they knew that Aiden's role as a symbol of Earth's fury was far from over. Back at the front, Admiral Storr found himself wrestling with a conflict of conscience. After capturing Fort Arazeth, Storr discovered classified Killier medical data, tech that could potentially cure incurable Terran diseases. Initially, it reminded him of the compassion the Imperium had once shown his own child. But then, the memory of Kara Caldwell's brutal execution reared its ugly head. Storr slammed the data pad shut, muttering a profanity that would make even a rowdy Martian bar hush. Morality warred with duty inside him. "We fight monsters, but we can't become them," he told his second-in-command. The officer shrugged. "Sir, they already crossed the line. People back home want them taught a lesson so hard it leaves a cosmic butt print." Storr stared out the viewport at the swirling wreckage of Killier ships. "Let's hope that lesson doesn't come at the cost of our souls." Meanwhile, the telepathic network formed by Earth's psi-gifted citizens grew stronger. Guided by Aiden's example, though he wasn't actively leading them, the telepaths coordinated across vast distances, feeding real-time intelligence to the Terran fleets. The Imperator's loyalists found entire task forces outmaneuvered by Earth's uncanny ability to predict their moves. Rumors spread among Killier ranks about witchcraft or demonic powers, fueling superstition and terror. As Earth's unstoppable advance continued, Imperator Zelvar grew desperate. In a closed-door meeting, he snapped at his generals, "How can we be losing to these hairless monkeys? Find me a solution, or I'll find your replacements." The unspoken threat hung in the air like poison gas. In the darkest corners of the Imperium, conspiracies to overthrow Zelvar took root, fueled by the fear that he'd provoked humanity into a war the Killier might not survive. Earth had always sought peace. Forcing them into savage vengeance was akin to teaching a sleeping dragon to breathe fire. And the galaxy was starting to realize just how hot that fire could burn. As months of warfare turned into a brutal stalemate near the Killier core worlds, the Imperium began to fracture from within. Regions once loyal to Imperator Zelvar grew restless under incessant losses and near-constant Terran bombardments. Whispers of defectors became roars. Some Killier citizens even experienced flickers of Aiden Caldwell's telepathic broadcast, residual echoes that exposed Kara's final moments. For many, it was the first time they'd felt the raw horror of Imperium cruelty from a victim's perspective. In the corridors of Earth's Grand War Council, President Lucia King listened to new proposals from the telepathic network. They had discovered hidden gulags on several Killier worlds, where millions of enslaved beings from conquered species toiled. Detailed psychic scans suggested an imminent mass execution order if the Imperator felt the war was lost. President King's response was swift: "We bring them freedom, Killier brutality ends now, or we end it ourselves." Even Admiral Storr, initially hesitant to condone total devastation, recognized the stakes. In a private holoconference with President King, he admitted, "This war isn't just about vengeance anymore. We're saving countless lives who never had a chance to fight back." King, steely-eyed, agreed. "They made the mistake of waking the sleeping giant, and they'll pay for that with a full-scale meltdown if they refuse to surrender." Aiden Caldwell, meanwhile, had grown stronger. Guided by more experienced telepaths, he learned how to harness his abilities deliberately. One day, while searching for intel in the cosmic mental plane, Aiden stumbled upon a wave of grief emanating from the Killier capital itself. He focused, establishing a mental link with General Thalek Kern, a high-ranking but conflicted Killier officer. The image that formed in Aiden's mind nearly floored him. Kern's own child had recently been executed by Zelvar's secret police for speaking out against the Imperator. Driven by heartbreak, Kern was planning a coup with a faction of disillusioned Killier officials. Aiden's telepathic empathy bridged the gap between enemies. For once, a channel opened that wasn't saturated with hate. Kern vowed to sabotage the Imperator's planetary defense network if Earth promised mercy for Killier civilians. Aiden relayed the message to Earth's command. President King and Admiral Storr agreed they would spare the population if Kern paved the way. The final act unfolded in orbit above Rathalon Prime, the Killier seat of power. As Earth's combined fleets arrived, the Imperator's defenders scrambled for a last stand. But the planetary shields collapsed from within. Kern's loyalists had done their part. Earth's warships rained precision strikes on the Imperator's palace complex. Zelvar, furious at the betrayal, attempted to flee aboard a cruiser, but Terran fighters intercepted him in low orbit. He refused every demand to surrender. His final broadcast was a vitriolic rant that included many colorful insults about human ancestry. President King, unimpressed, gave Admiral Storr the nod. The Imperator's cruiser was vaporized in a cascade of plasma beams. One Terran pilot was heard on the comms remarking, "Rest in pieces, buddy. Try messing with our kids again." The galaxy collectively exhaled a long-held breath. Across Killier space, news of Zelvar's death spread like wildfire. Celebrations erupted among enslaved populations and Killier dissidents alike. Kern and his followers took control of the transitional government, immediately pleading for a ceasefire and vowing accountability. Earth, still reeling from the war, agreed to a provisional peace, sending humanitarian ships to devastated worlds. While some Terrans lobbied for the utter destruction of the Imperium, President King insisted on forging a new order, one where such atrocities could never take root again. Aiden Caldwell watched the broadcast of Killier officials signing the ceasefire. He felt a rush of relief and sorrow. Kara's face flickered in his mind. He whispered, "We did it, sis," as if his voice might reach the stars. A faint presence seemed to answer, or perhaps it was just his memory. Either way, the weight in his chest lifted. With the Imperator gone, Earth finally had the moral upper hand, though the war's scars would last for generations. In HFY fashion, humanity had proven it was neither weak nor to be trifled with, especially when its children were threatened. They had also proven that beneath the vengeful rage lay a conscience, guiding them toward mercy when the enemy's cruelty was laid bare. Some cynics quipped that Earth was now the galaxy's badass babysitter, ensuring no empire dared harm an innocent again. Others, with more reverence, simply said, "Don't kill a human child if you value your civilization. You don't want to see what we'll do." Yet in the hush that followed the final bombardment, one truth stood above all: Kara Caldwell's death had not gone unanswered. The silent spark of her last moments ignited a fury that reshaped the galaxy and reminded everyone that humanity, once roused, would not relent until justice was served.